Good afternoon, and welcome to another wonderful motivational Monday. Of course, my name is Deacon Irons here at Unfeigned Faith Ministries. We're led by our wonderful minister, Minister Lee Rodman, and of course, who could forget our fantastic First Lady, Minister Lakeisha Rodman. Again, it is the start of a new month, June, and another wonderful Monday. So I hope you all had a fantastic day so far, full of rest and peace and enjoyment. This week's motivation revolves around wondering, right? Wondering, yourself wondering. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today, and then we were just talking about some general stuff. And then the topic of, the Israelites wandering in the desert for 40 years and so on, right? And, we got into a good conversation about it and why they were wandering and, some little details. And then, it started dawning on me that when we start wandering, right, not in just traveling, right, going from place A to B or whatever the case may be, but when we let our minds wander from the purpose of Christ and what we're trying to do, just like with the Israelites, if you really think about it, when they turned their minds away from Christ and started not believing in Him and trusting in the things that He was doing for them and the way He was leading for them, that's when they got themselves into trouble, right? Without even realizing what they were doing. And we as Christians, we do the same thing now, right? Um, I know in Numbers, when we go ahead and read Numbers, when Jesus is talking to Moses and, the Lord is asking, when would they actually trust me? When would they believe in the things that I've done for them, even when they have seen the things that He has done for them, right? When you go through Hebrews and stuff like that, it's talking about the faith that having to believe in the things that Jesus is doing for us without seeing His miracles. And we as Christians, we actually do that sometimes, right? We see the stuff that's happening, and we know Jesus blesses us. But the times when we start wondering is when we start letting our minds get out of hand, and we start losing our faith and our faith and trust in what God has planned for us. So just like with the Israelites, um, when they started going against or not believing in what Jesus was doing for them, they started wondering. That's why they wandered the desert. Us today, when we start wondering, we just start getting into all kinds of trouble, right? Um, Sometimes we realize it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do it purposefully, right? I say all of us. It's all about focusing and remaining focused on what Jesus is doing for us without actually seeing it. We just have to have faith that we're on the right path. We're not going to wander to left or right. And if you find yourself wandering, find yourself back on the right path. Don't be like the Israelites and be wandering in the desert for 40 years, right? You don't want to go wandering off because when you don't trust in God and what He's trying to do for you and in your life, you're going to find yourself wandering off in different places and find yourself in places where you don't need to be. All right. So for this week's motivation, one, I want you to read Numbers, right, and just think about how Jesus, you know, guided the Israelites and allowed them to wander off in the desert for 40 years and truly get an understanding of that. And then we want you to realize and put that into what you're doing today and how you are on a path, right? Yes, you're not going to wander off in North Charleston or where you may be, right? But spiritually, when you start wandering off what God has in store for you, you're going to find yourself doing things that you have no business doing, saying stuff you don't have no business saying, and in predicaments where you would not have been in only if you just continue to follow what the path that was set forth to you. So if you find yourself wondering, go ahead and refocus yourself. All right. I don't want you to go too far. I don't want you to get too far. If you see other people wandering from the faith, again, reel them in, right? Remind them of the path that they're on. Yes, some of you want a lot of things and you might not see it instantly, but I promise you, God has a plan. Stay on that path. And instead of wandering for 40 years, you're going to get there when God allows you and sets that you get there in the time that you're supposed to. Okay. There's a time and place for everything. And that's pretty much what it is. So my motivation for y'all this week is do not wonder. Do not go astray. Yes, you're going to run into some difficult situations, but just keep the faith, right? Keep pushing, keep continuing, and just again, just read numbers, and just like Hebrews 11 says, 6, it says, without faith, it is impossible to please God. And if you don't have the faith to stand in there, stay on the path, and not wander off that path, you're not going to please God. And like Minister Robin always says many times, you don't please me or please us or please the ministry. First and foremost, you have to please Christ. And pleasing Christ means, following and not wandering off anywhere. So that is my motivation for y'all for this week. Do not wander off the path. Always remember the Israelites and why they didn't get to the land of milk and honey in time, right? After 40 years of wandering in the desert. We don't want you wandering around North Charleston or wherever you may be. Okay. We don't want you to do that for 40 years. All right. So again, read numbers this week. All right. Um, Stay focused, stay on the path. Yes, it's a difficult time, but God has a plan for each and every one of us, and we're going to get where we need to be as long as we continue to have faith and believe in what He wants to do. All right. So again, my name is Deacon Irons here at Unfeigned Faith Ministries, where we never like to leave you nor depart your sight, and always continue to encouraging you and just reminding you that until next time, hold on to your faith. You all have a fantastic